It's a classic scenario. You walk into a shop, you walk up to the shopkeeper, and you begin to use your eloquent words, your flashy smile, and your debonair sophistication to win this shopkeep over and get him or her to lower their prices. You grab your D20 confidently and prepare to make your die roll, and just when you think you're going to be rolling deception, your DM asks for persuasion. Or intimidation. And now what do? Alright, folks, this is going to be a silly one and a fun one, I think, here today on the DnDaily vlog. I want to just talk a little bit about how I see the difference between deception, persuasion, and intimidation. I mean, at first glance, it may seem kind of obvious, or maybe not. Maybe to me it seems obvious, but maybe to you it's sort of confusing, or maybe misleading. Or regardless, when we actually get into the act or the moment of role playing, we think or we intend to be deceptive, and maybe someone else at the table, especially the DM, thinks we're trying to be intimidating or persuasive. Or it goes the other way. Maybe we go in and we think we're being, downright intimidating, and, the DM asks for persuasion or something. So how can we kind of understand these three different skills, and then what do we do to sort of mitigate those kind of awkward, goofy, challenging situations? So I suppose out of the gate, the simplest thing to do is probably just communicate with your DM. Like, just say flat out, hey, I'm going to try to be intimidating here, and then say what you're going to say. For me, I don't particularly like that style because I feel like it kind of takes away from the immersion of the moment. If everyone at the table is role-playing, you're really into the moment, you're having this good, tete-a-tete with the shopkeep, and your DM is really just riffing with you and having a good time, it sort of breaks that energy, that mood, to just then, out of nowhere, blurt out, I'm going to make an intimidation check, or I'm going to make a deception check, or something. So I always feel like the best thing to do is to first attempt to use your words, your character, your role-playing skills to do what you think you're going to do. And then, if the DM is not maybe perceiving it the way you are, say, well, they say, roll a persuasion check and you were hoping for deception, then you maybe would ask the DM if you can make an argument. Say, oh, well, okay, excuse me, DM, because can I ask you, I was going for deception. It may have seemed that way. It may not have felt that way. But that's what I was trying for. Would you accept a deception roll? And, just communicate with your DM. Here's the bottom line. The way I see it is like this. I feel like deception is going to be used anytime you're trying to pull the wool over the eyes of an NPC. If you are trying to be dishonest in any way, you're probably using deception. If you're dressed in a disguise, if you're wearing, if you have, you're using your actual disguised self, or you're using makeup, or you're wearing a cloak and pulled it down, or anything like this, that's a pretty good indication you're probably going to use deception. Not always, but mostly. And anytime you're just being generally dishonest, in my opinion, you're going to be using deception. You're trying to trick this person into believing something that's not necessarily true. Persuasion, on the other hand, generally is going to be very well rooted in the truth. You're going to be trying to move a person from one position to another using your words and your personality. And it doesn't mean you have to be super suave and debonair and any of that kind of thing. Maybe you're not debonair. Maybe you're a klutz or a goof, and you're just awkward with words. And that's okay, because even just your sincere pleading, your honesty, and your forthrightness can be persuasive and move a person over to, again, to your side, to helping you out, and in this case, lowering their price. And of course, intimidation, I think, is probably the most obvious. However, there are subtle ways to use intimidation. If you come in and you're like, the spy type, or that sort of like silent, powerful, you don't say much, but what you do is said with intent, that might be intended as intimidation. However, it might not necessarily play that way. But you come in and say, just point blank, like dead-eyed to this NPC, you're gonna lower your prices, aren't you? That's probably going to be judged as intimidation by most DMs. So let me give an example of each of these to make it sort of sear. That was sort of, I think actually that's a pretty good intimidation example. So if you either just come in and like outright say, you threaten the person, like don't make me have to mess you up or mess up your shop, or you're going to lower your prices or else. That's intimidation clearly, right? But it could also be more subtle, of where you make these like subtle hints about like you definitely want to do this because it's in your own best interest. And it could very well be threatening, but just not as aggressive and forceful. So that's intimidation. Persuasion, I'm going to give 2 examples with persuasion. Same thing. We're going in, we're going to try to get the shopkeeper to lower their prices. First person that wants to persuade them is going to candy coat their words, and they're going to be like, oh my good, let's say the shopkeep is a man. Oh my fine gentleman, please take this into consideration. We are adventurers and we are here to stay. We are going to be back and spending all kinds of our money when we come back. Our gold coin is coming to your shop first. You're using your words to convince this person that you're going to be a repeat customer, and thereby it's in the shopkeep's best interest to sort of make you happy this time around so that you're incentivized to keep coming back. On the other side of the scale, you could come into the same shopkeep and using your words, be persuasive in another way. Maybe you're going to go the sort of poor me, woe is me kind of route, where you come in and maybe you're, please, good sir, we're adventurers and we intend to do good, and we're going to help the town. We're going to save poor Timmy from the well. Sorry, I got a little silly. We're going to do good for the town, but we're short on cash. Is there any way you could consider lowering your price for us this one time if we give you our word that we will return once our adventure is completed and bring our goods back to you for sale, for trade, and for purchase of more of your fine wares? Okay, that's pretty awesome. I might even offer inspiration for some creative use of persuasion like that. So there's lots of different ways you can use persuasion. Again, I'm being honest, right? That's the intention in my mind behind persuasion. Whereas deception's, again, I feel like deception is always going to be when you're being dishonest. And with deception, that's a hard one in regards to like making a shopkeep lower their price. However, maybe you say to your DM, I'm going to go in and I want that 50 GP potion. I'm going to go in and get a potion of healing. And I have this 20 gold piece or 30 gold piece gem that I'm going to try to convince them that it's actually a 50 gold piece gem. See that? Look at this. Look at the cuts on this fine. Look how well this was crafted. Have you ever seen its like? I mean, it's not huge, so of course it's got a limit to its value, but certainly that's worth a healing potion in trade. That to me is awesome, and you could see how someone might consider that being persuasive. But in my mind, because it's dishonest, it's always going to be deception if I'm the DM. So there's ways you could definitely make arguments. You could definitely have conversations even ahead of time or after the fact with your DM. If you want to keep the game moving and you were thinking you were being deceptive, but your DM asked you for persuasion, roll with it. Just roll with the punch, make the roll. After the session, talk with your DM and say, hey, let me know, because in the future, this was my intention in that situation. I can understand, or maybe I don't understand. Would you explain why you decided to make it a persuasion roll instead of a deception roll, and so forth? So, because, look, let's be honest with each other. I know just as well as you know, some of us have stats in certain skills that are higher than others, and so we always want to use that stat, whether it's perception versus perception versus investigation, or whether it's perception versus insight, maybe, or whether it's athletics over acrobatics, or whether it's intimidation, persuasion, deception, etc. So we all have these skills that we want to use to our advantage, of course, and most DMs are going to be benevolent anyway. They want you to win, they want you to have fun, and so usually a good DM is going to help you to achieve that. So just communicate, make it clear, do your best in your role playing to make it clear, and if that doesn't work, then just go ahead and be polite and say to the DM point blank, hey, I'm trying to use this. What can I do for that situation? And that's the best way to get it done, in my opinion. Tell me, am I wrong, or do you have other ways of viewing this, or do you just let the player, if you're a DM, do you let the player decide? Like, if the player has a speech like any of the ones I gave, or even something different, do you then ask the player, okay, do you want to make a deception roll or an intimidation roll or persuasion roll, whatever? Do you ask the player? That actually might be a really cool way to handle this kind of situation. So tell me what your thoughts are. I'd love to read them in the comments here, as always. Hey, take a moment when you have it and watch one of these videos next. And of course, I'll see you at a table someday. Keep rolling 20s. And remember, it's your game. Play your way.